Hi everyone, I'm Wendy, and today I'm showing you how I meal prep to maintain my whole food plant-based diet while traveling. Recently, I went on a little mini road trip to experience the total solar eclipse that happened on April 8th. I was only gone for about 48 hours, so I prepped and brought all of my food with me. Let me show you how I did it. I'm starting my food prep with some potatoes. Yes, I will be pimping on this trip. If you're not familiar, that's potato in my pocket or potato in my purse. So I have some Yukon Gold potatoes that I'm putting in my Instant Pot with a little bit of water, and I'll cook these for 15 minutes at high pressure. Once those are done, I'll let them cool and keep them in the fridge. Next up, I'm cooking quinoa. I have 1 cup of quinoa and 1.5 cups of water that I'll cook for 3 minutes at high pressure. And I'm using this for a quinoa salad, which is one of my favorite travel foods. So once it's done cooking, I let the quinoa cool in a mixing bowl, and then I'm adding a can of chickpeas and a bunch of different vegetables. I have cherry tomatoes, bell peppers, celery, and I'm using both the stalks and the leaves. The leafy part of the celery is great to use like an herb. Then I have cucumbers, and I'm chopping everything in little tiny pieces. You can chop it however you like, but I like it small so that it's easier to chew. Then I have some more bell peppers, red onion, and some black olives. Of course, olives have tons of salt added, but they're really great in this dish. So I found these reduced sodium olives, and I rinse them really well before chopping. Finally, I'm chopping some fresh parsley. Fresh herbs make all the difference in a dish like this. If you leave the fresh herbs out, it'll still be good, but the fresh herbs take it over the top and make it so much more delicious. So once everything is chopped, I'll add a dressing and stir it all up. This is just a really simple dressing made of red wine vinegar and stone ground mustard. I'll portion this out in a couple containers. Next up, I'm prepping what I'll bring for breakfast on my trip. My hotel is supposed to have breakfast, but I'm not sure if they'll have many plant-based options, so I want to come prepared. I usually always drink a smoothie for breakfast, and since I'll only be gone 2 days, I'm going to go ahead and blend up a smoothie and freeze it. This way, it acts as another ice pack for my cooler, and then it'll last in the hotel fridge for a couple of days. I'm making a cauliflower smoothie. It also has some soybeans, avocado, mango, and fresh ginger. I'm blending it with a combination of soy milk and water, and it comes out like a nice creamy soft serve. So I'm putting this in a couple containers, and like I said, I'll freeze it to take along with me. Then I also usually have oatmeal for breakfast. For this trip, I'm going to make some refrigerator oats. Again, this should last for a couple of days. I'm starting with a cup of rolled oats, 2 tablespoons of ground flax seeds, a little bit of my pumpkin pie spice, a few chopped walnuts, a couple tablespoons of date sugar, about a cup of frozen wild blueberries, and then I'm adding 1 cup of soy milk and 1 cup of water. I'm mixing this all together and then portioning it out. I find it's easier to mix in a bowl than to try to mix in the individual containers. And the last thing I'm prepping is a cabbage salad. I'm adding shredded cabbage to a storage container along with chopped red onion. Then I don't usually measure anything. I just squirt a little bit of stone ground mustard, a little bit of tahini, and some balsamic vinegar. Then I usually add either date sugar or date syrup. Today I'm using syrup. Then I have some dried dill, black pepper, and granulated garlic. I put the lid on and shake it up to combine, and once you shake it up a little bit, it usually reduces in volume. So now there's room for a little bit more cabbage and the rest of my onion. So I'll shake it up again and it's ready to go. I'm prepping all of this the day before my trip. So tomorrow I'll show you what I have for breakfast and lunch before I hit the road in the afternoon. All right, it is day 1 of my trip. I'm starting off with a smoothie with greens, celery, cucumbers, banana, mango, fresh ginger, soy milk, and water. And don't you just love it when you get everything just right and it's a perfect fit? Then I was all out of my batch prepped steel cut oats, so I'm just going with good old-fashioned rolled oats today. I'm chopping up a date along with some wild blueberries and water. After microwaving that, I'll add some chia seeds and enjoy it along with my smoothie. Then I'll be leaving right after lunch, and I want to use up all of the veggies that I have in my fridge. So I'm throwing together a quick meal to use up those leftovers so they won't go bad while I'm gone. I had some tomatoes, red bell pepper, and onion. I'll set that aside for a minute, and I'm going to start with some red lentils. I'm just making enough for me for 1 meal, so I'm using 1/3 cup of red lentils and a cup of water. I'll let those cook while I get another pot of water boiling to cook some noodles. Once the red lentils are cooked, I'm adding those chopped veggies. Then I have some spices. This is 1/4 teaspoon each of granulated garlic and onion, 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/2 teaspoon of sun-dried tomato powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepperoni spice. I got this from local spicery on Chef AJ's recommendation, and it's the first time I'm trying it. After I stir the spices in, I have just a little bit of frozen spinach left in this bag. I'm covering it and I'll let that cook while I throw a few whole wheat noodles in to boil. Once my noodles are done, I'll simply add those to my sauce, and I'm eating that alongside one of those potatoes I batch prepped for the trip. I also topped the pasta with a homemade vegan Parmesan and decided to have an apple along with it. This pasta ended up being really delicious, and I loved the pepperoni spice. It definitely tasted like pepperoni, so it suited the pasta really well. I'll have a blog post linked below the video with this recipe, as well as the others that I've showed you so far. After lunch, I gathered all of my food for the trip. In addition to the meals that I prepped, I also have some arugula, some bananas and clementines, and a couple plant-strong meals. I'm packing all the cold stuff in my cooler, and once I get to the hotel, I'll transfer it to the mini fridge. One great tip if you're trying to maintain a whole food plant-based lifestyle while traveling is to try to find hotels with a mini fridge. Since I was driving, I had plenty of space for a cooler, and even if the hotel didn't have a mini fridge, I would have been okay on this short trip because my cooler keeps things cold for 2 to 3 days. But if you're traveling and you don't have space for a cooler, my recommendation is to find a hotel with a fridge, and once you get there, head to your nearest grocery store to stock up. I didn't have anything to do that evening, so once I got to the hotel, I headed to the fitness center to walk on the treadmill. I'm not much of a runner, but I did decide to jog a little bit. Only for like 5 minutes, but hey, it's something. And then I did a few squats, and by then I had worked up an appetite, so I headed back to the room to enjoy some of my quinoa salad with arugula. I also had some of the cabbage and potatoes that I prepped. And for dessert, I brought some of my chocolate pistachio cookies, which I shared last week on the channel. I'll put a link for that video and recipe. That evening, I also decided to have a cup of tea. I brought several options to choose from and decided to go with chamomile. Then I was off to bed. Tomorrow is the big day. I'll be traveling just a little bit farther to go see the solar eclipse. In the morning, I decided to check out the free hotel breakfast. Like I said, I brought my breakfast just in case because most of the time what they offer is not exactly friendly for a whole food plant-based lifestyle. As you can see, they have what I like to call processed food-like substances, including cereal, bagels, breads, and pastries. Of course, they also had sausage and eggs, but I was happy to see they actually did have completely plain oatmeal, so that was exciting. I confirmed with the chef that it did not have any dairy in it, so I grabbed a little bowl for myself, and they also had tons of jellies and peanut butter, but it was your standard peanut butter with oil and sugar, so I passed on that. I just grabbed a banana. And I ate the oatmeal plain with the banana. Really, plain oatmeal is actually quite delicious. Then I also went ahead and had my smoothie and my refrigerator oats that I brought as well. After breakfast, I drove to my viewing spot and waited for the eclipse. I brought my other serving of quinoa salad and ate it in the park. I tried to get a few pictures on my phone of the eclipse. Of course, if you wanted to get really good pictures, you would need a much more advanced camera, lens, and skill than I possess. But I put my solar filter glasses over my phone camera lens and got this partial eclipse. And yes, a partial eclipse is pretty cool, but it's nothing compared to totality. This was my second time experiencing totality, and it was just as cool as the first time. It was a pretty warm day, something like 80 degrees, but as totality approached, there was a chill in the air. The flowers started closing their petals, the nighttime animals started stirring, and then the park lights came on as the sky finally turned completely dark. It was really fun. There were lots of people in the park, and many of them expressed shock and awe. For a few moments, everyone was exclaiming about how strange the experience was. And then everyone fell silent. We were all just staring at the moon and the sun's corona as if time was suspended. Like someone had put a spell on us. And then, just like that, the sun came back out, the spell was broken, and everyone went about their day. As everyone else cleared out, I decided to hang out a little longer in the park and watch the rest of the partial eclipse. And of course, I couldn't go to a park without playing around a little bit. I'm a little rusty on my aerial acrobatics, but I decided to test it out. After that, I headed back to my hotel for some dinner. I had those plant-strong soups to choose from, and I went with the Firehouse chili along with some more of my cabbage and chocolate cookies. The next morning, I ate the rest of my prepped smoothie and refrigerator oats. I decided to fill up a bag with some ice because on the way home, I planned to stop at a few grocery stores that I don't have where I live. First stop, Trader Joe's. I got a bag of apples, a few cartons of their soy milk, which is so much cheaper than the soy milk I can get at home. I also got some frozen fire-roasted bell peppers, this really pretty rainbow cauliflower blend, some riced cauliflower, and frozen artichoke hearts. Then I went to Whole Foods. I got some frozen brown rice, edamame, fire-roasted corn, and of course I had to get some potatoes. I was wearing my Powered by Potatoes shirt after all. I got some Japanese sweet potatoes and Hana yams. Then I decided to treat myself to some peanut butter. Normally I don't keep this in the house because I will eat it by the spoonful and it'll be gone within a couple days. But it's probably been over a year since I had any, so I'm hoping I can control myself. Then I got some cassava orzo, some whole wheat spaghetti, and I found these pretty cool rye and pumpernickel breads. They have pretty clean ingredients, so I thought I'd give them a try. And that was my trip. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I maintain my whole food plant-based lifestyle on the road. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.